we can invest in outside things. We can invest in things that aren't going to be here for forever. But the best thing to do is invest in yourself because you're leaving a legacy.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Healing Hands Chiropractic Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Dawkins, and I'm joined by Dr. Tracy Rush. Dr. Tracy, how are you doing this morning?
So blessed. I'm at my son's house, had a great Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving, everybody. And just so much gratitude right now, this time of year, coming into Christmas and New Year and 2025. I'm flying high. I have to show you my grandbaby because we're here.
That's right.
But I'm actually going to show Dr. Chris because he took the better picture. But that is my little girl.
Look at that precious baby. Look at that good-looking man.
Yes. And she was a doll yesterday.
Amazing. Well, if you're listening to this, hopefully you had a wonderful Thanksgiving as well. You got to see some family. Maybe you didn't eat too much, but you enjoyed yourself and you took some time to share some gratitude as well. We're going to talk a little bit about gratitude on today's episode, but we want to kick things off with just sharing a couple, some feedback that we've gotten from you guys for Healing Hands, for Dr. Tracy, for what we're doing in this conversation. So just two really quick, Dr. Tracy. First, a shout out to Elaine, who gave us a 5-star review, and she said, "It is great to have caring doctors and staff to help improve your well-being." Straightforward, but it does essentially share what we want to be doing with this conversation and also with the practice. One more, Holly. Thank you, Holly, for sharing. Again, a 5-star review. She said, "The most caring doctors and staff. Everyone is professional and kind. Thanks for being the best for me for a lot of years." So I love that. You know, Dr. Tracy, your last name is Rush. It's a rush for me when I get to hear a patient share such a grateful review after years. Because, you know, as we're going to do on this podcast today, we're all getting to know you, Dr. Tracy. And I think the more that we get to know, the more that we can trust what you're saying, as we were talking about before the podcast, the more that we like you. And it's just such a great opportunity for, in the name of health, as we're really trying to help people. We understand those things are important, to know you and to be able to trust you so that we can trust your words. So today we're taking a different approach. We talked about this a little bit offline, but we're getting to know the person, the icon, Dr. Tracy Rush. And we have 10 questions. And I just want to encourage the listeners. I want to challenge the listeners right now. As we get into these questions, you're going to get to know Dr. Tracy better, but we want to get to know you better. And so have some fun and let this be an interactive opportunity. When I ask Dr. Tracy these questions, you answer them too in the comments. Let us know below. We want to hear from you. And guaranteed, you also have a good answer for all these questions, just like Dr. Tracy will. So let's have some fun over the next little bit, get to know Dr. Tracy, and we're going to jump in with question number 1 for Dr. Tracy, and that is, what is the book or books you've given most as a gift and why? Or what are 1 or 3 books that have greatly influenced your life?
So the number one, obviously, is the Bible. I mean, that is the book of wisdom, the book of life. I have told many people, I have given many of them over the years to children, to adults, all of that. I do mentoring with ladies, and I've given them Bible studies, Bible devotions. But one of the most impactful books in my life, the author's name is Charles Capps. He has written many books, C-A-P-P-S. And he has a series of books, and it's about the tongue, like what we say, what we confess. But the name of this book is God's Creative Power Will Work for You. God's Creative Power Will Work for You. And I started this. It's this little tiny book, very small, and it explains more about it than you get into it. And I'm gonna say there's probably 6 pages of just scripture that you just say. I'm going to say it's like a mantra. And we started it when I was pregnant with Jacob. So that was over 27 years ago. And I remember in South Carolina being pregnant with Jacob, waiting for him to come. He was 13 days late. Yes. No, 14, 15 days late.
2 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were walking around a track at a high school, and we have this book, and we have a picture of me just reading those scriptures, just declaring those scriptures. Well, I have said it so much. I sit in my car as I drive to work, and I start those scripture. And of course, I'm sitting here, and of course, I can't remember the first one because I'm not sitting in my car driving to work. No, but it starts with, I'm the body of Christ. Satan has no power over me. I overcome evil with good. And it just goes on and lists scripture because that's what you're declaring. You're a child of God. And we're declaring that.
Wow. I do want to say that we know that we have other professionals that listen to this podcast. We know it's not just patients of Healing Hands. I know it's international, Dr. Tracy. And so I think it's worth mentioning you and I both as a chiropractor. We, I'm not a chiropractor, just honored to be part of this conversation, but you and I both follow the lead of the great physician. So you mentioned the Bible, and I just think if you've never journeyed through the Bible, we have a new year that's about to start. We're throwing a challenge out there. Question number 1, Dr. Tracy. I dare you, listener, I challenge you to consider walking through the Bible next year and see how the great physician can help you when it comes to spiritual health and other aspects of health. So enough on that. Let's get to question number 2. What purchase of $100 or less has most positively impacted your life in the last 6 months or in recent history?
This was tough. So I started to look last night. It was late. It was 11 o'clock. And I'm going through my Amazon feed to see what did I purchase. And it was actually most recent at a yard sale or at our thrift store. And we're going through it now with our individually and as a staff. But I pulled it up on my Amazon. But it's called 5. Where do you see yourself 5 years from today?
Okay.
Now, I'm going to admit I've probably a little bit ADHD. I can't stay focused on one thing for a very long time. And this book is like a Dr. Seuss book. The way it's laid out, it'll have quotes over here. And then through the pages, it'll have a quote over 2 pages like Dr. Seuss. And it reads like that. And that's awesome for my brain. Just awesome for my brain. But it has been impactful because it talks about our core values. What are your true values? And then what's your mission statement? And what's your purpose? And who are you? Excuse me, some of the questions in there were really tough as I'm reading them. Like, what are your 3 biggest things you like most about yourself? What are the 3 things you dislike about yourself? Of course, we all find more that we dislike than we like. I had a tough time coming up with number 3 of things that I like about myself. And I'm like, ooh, I don't like that.
You mentioned 2 books so far and an author. So I'm just going to say we'll make sure that we include links to those as we can find them in the video description. So for anyone looking for, I'm interested in this or that, we'll try to help you out in the video description. So next question, Dr. Tracy, is as an icon, okay, if you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, metaphorically speaking, getting a message out to millions or billions, what would it say and why? And just so you know, it could be a few words or a paragraph, it could be about you or someone else. What would that billboard look like?
So this one, I'm so passionate about spreading the word of chiropractic. I tell our patients as they walk out the door, you're entering your mission field. You're entering the mission field. You're getting out there because it's your story. So getting that story of chiropractic. But chiropractic has such a negative connotation with people because society and unfortunately the medical community have downgraded what we do. So I put You have inside of you the ability to heal.
Mm.
Tap into it. Discover chiropractic healthcare.
Wow. I like it. I know you and I both, if we saw that billboard driving down the road, we'd kind of lose our mind a little bit, just thinking, that, look at that. We did it. We did it. That's amazing. I like it. All right. I like that billboard idea. Next question. What is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've ever made? This could be an investment of money, time, energy, etc. What would you say to that?
I
I mean,
invested in me. Me, my quiet time, my self-development. Um, every year I invest in me, and it's so important. We can invest in outside things, we can invest in things that aren't going to be here for forever. But the best thing to do is invest in yourself because you're leaving a legacy. Your life influences others. Every one of us, our life influences another. And so I'm always working on myself, always doing that.
all right. What is one unusual habit or an absurd thing that you love?
I love statistics. I love looking at numbers, analyzing numbers, projecting numbers, seeing where we are and moving forward with numbers. I love numbers, but I don't like math. If that makes sense.
That's
I don't
funny.
see statistics as math. I don't like math. Don't ask me to add things together. That's what a calculator's for. But I love analyzing numbers, seeing, yeah, I love that.
All right. All right. In the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
We talked about this last time. My gratitude journal, because it makes you look at life differently. And yeah, I mean, we could get hokey and say, "Oh, the law of attraction, that you're attracting stuff to you." That's not why I do it. I got challenged, and I'm gonna say it's 6 years ago. I think it's in 6 years ago. I went to a women's conference, and the lady talked about having a gratitude journal every night, finding at least three things you're grateful for the day, and writing it down. And then my counselor the other day said, what that does, when you write that down right before you go to sleep, your brain, the neuroplasticity of your brain is going to start working on that. Thinking about those gratitude things, the things you wrote down. And for me, I mean, I see beauty in everything now. I mean, I'm driving to work and the blue heron flies and sits right there, and I'm like, oh, the blue heron, because that's my favorite bird. Or it's that beautiful sunrise. Or it's the story of a patient, like we talked about last time, had been 2 weeks without a headache. Like, just those little things.
I love it. And I just want to say, we're 6 questions in. We've got 4 more. But if you have head on your shoulders and you've been listening to the last 6 questions answered, you have fuel for an incredible 2025. We can stop right here, Dr. Tracy. And if we all just took the answers that you just gave for those 6 questions, we would be stepping into the best year of our lives, regardless of what happens. So thank you so far. Thank you so much for the nuggets of wisdom. But we have 4 more questions. So here we go. Question number 7. What advice? Oh man, let's keep it going, Dr. Tracy. What advice would you give to a smart, driven college student about to enter the real world? And then what advice should they ignore?
Big thing, and I wish I had known this, dream big. Dream big. Go for the big, audacious, hairy goals. Go for them. You have nothing to lose. I know fear holds us back, and you may be inexperienced, or I don't have the right tools, or whatever doubts you have. Do it anyway. Just, the stomach churns and the heart pounds, and you're like, can I do this? Yes, go for it. Do the big goals. See yourself being successful.
Hmm.
And bad advice? Well, thinking that you could just get by. Just get by, just make it through every day. You hear that, or life's okay. No, no, no. Go for the big flute. And one of my instructors said, if you're going to make a mistake, go big or go home. Do it wrong, just do it wrong.
I love that. That's great. I don't know a lot of people that would have connected big, hairy, audacious goals and going for it with playing the flute, but you just connected it masterfully. So you're going to fail big. I like that. All right. What are bad recommendations you hear in your profession or area of expertise? So we're talking about health. We're talking about chiropractic. What are some things that you hear or have heard that you wish you could unhear because they were just so bad or so wrong?
Come back when you need us. That's the one that stood out in my mind. The chiropractors that say, come back when you're in pain. You're good. You don't have to come back until you need us. We always need chiropractic. From the day you're born to the day you pass, you need chiropractic. It's just good for you. It has nothing to do with pain. It is just good for you to be.
And to challenge some listeners right now, if you're on the fence about it, the thing to remember is, and it's the reason why this conversation is bigger than chiropractic, we're talking about health. We're talking about all the things that you can do to be healthy mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. But every aspect of health is something that you can do for yourself, except for when it comes to chiropractic. The truth is, you can't identify your own subluxations. We've talked about that. You can't adjust yourself, regardless of what popular YouTube videos want to convince you of. The reality is, most of health is within your control and something you can do. When it comes to chiropractic and when it comes to your nervous system, there's just a truth about it that you have to show up and you have to let an expert do their job. And that could make all the difference when it comes to your health. You could be doing everything else right. And that subluxation could be cutting off nerve supply, and ultimately it's affecting your organs, your tissues, your every cell in your body. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that candor, and I think that's a message that won't get old, Dr. Tracy. Next question. In the last 5 years, what have you become better at saying no to, like distractions or invitations, and what new realizations and or approaches have helped you do that? And if you have any other tips, we'll take them.
So it is okay to say no. I was the one that volunteered. I would be at every practice at church every week unless I was out of town. COVID happened and you couldn't go to church, and that put a lot of life for a lot of people in perspective of what are we striving for? What are we racing for? What it made us slow down. It made us reflect. And so now I play once or twice a month. I'm not overcommitting. I'm really not involved with organizations. I mean, we give as a group, we give personally to organizations, but I protect my time. And as you saw, the little one, my time is a lot of her. My time is hers now when I can get here. But it put it into perspective of you don't have to be everything for everybody. You don't. Be true to you. Again, self. Work on you. Work on you. That's the best thing you can do for your family.
And the truth is that for a lot of people, and I know my wife would say for moms, maybe especially, it can feel selfish to work on yourself, to take a little bit of time now or daily to work on yourself. But the truth is, it's one of the least selfish things you can do. At the end of the day, what you're doing is ensuring that you're going to be a better person 20 years from now, 30 years from now. So that Dr. Tracy, in the position that you're in where kids are having kids, you have multiple generations in your family now that you get to be a blessing to those grandbabies and not a burden to those grandbabies. And that's a hard word. And that for me, that's something that's a conviction of mine that's I've carried the last 10 years. I want to be a blessing to my future family. I want to be a blessing to my wife 30, 40 years from now. I want to be a blessing to my kids and my grandkids. And it's taking the time, little by little, to make sure you're working on yourself. Appreciate that.
And it doesn't have to be hours. I'm an introvert, so I need time to myself to regroup and to refresh. A lot of people are like that, and there's the extrovert who gets their energy by being around people. I saw that last night. I saw that yesterday, those extroverts. But it could be little snippets of time just for you, and it may be 20 minutes, I'm going to take a bath. It's okay. Someone can take care of the children. I mean, 20 minutes for you, not on your phone, quiet, listening to music. If you drink, having a glass of wine, just get out of the tub, okay?
And we can talk about this on another. I think it's worth a whole conversation to talk about the difference in taking time for yourself and escaping. To a lot of us turn to our devices to escape whatever reality is happening on the other side of the door. And that time doesn't tend to be as refreshing and nourishing as if you were to truly take time to take a breath, to meditate, to think about, as we talked about, gratitude, right? To read something insightful, to take a walk and enjoy being outside, the things that aren't so much escaping as they are getting refreshed. And there's some introverts out there that need to hear that, Dr. Tracy. So let's finish strong with this last question here. When you feel overwhelmed or unfocused or have lost your focus temporarily, what do you do? So maybe what questions do you ask yourself, or how do you process through that?
So I definitely regroup. We talked about quiet time. I regroup, I quiet my mind and body, and I self-sabotage. I overcommit at times. I think, okay, things are going good. Oh, I can add just one more thing. And then I put too much pressure on myself. I mean, that's what I do. But the questions I ask is, number one, how did I get here? I normally know the answer there. And what can I do different next time? And that's where not overcommitting, not because, there's urgency, but is it important urgency? Like, is it just fluff? Not fluff, but it's urgent in our mind. But is it going to move the needle? Is it going to get us closer to our goals? So it's that journaling, that reflection, regrouping for me.
All right. Wonderful. Well, hopefully everyone listening has had time to process these questions too, because we want to know your answers too. Make sure you comment below. I want to know books. I'm a big reader. I know Dr. Tracy as well. We want to know what books have inspired you. What books are the books that you give away? What's the advice that you'd have for someone young? Go back through these questions and give us your answers in the comments below. We're going to do our part to make sure that everything we mentioned is in the video description so that you have a chance to go and explore some of these things that we talked about. But we just want to say thank you in this season of gratitude. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. Thank you for all of the talking back that you've done so this could truly be a conversation. We're excited because December is upon us, and I think we got some really important things we're going to be talking about over the next month or two. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you guys on the next episode.
Blessings to you all. Happy Thanksgiving.